The 2025-2026 college basketball season is over. On to a new year, on to the NCAA transfer portal, and Duke basketball, we got to chase another national championship.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with JJ Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. So great to have you here with us today on Tuesday, April 7th, 2026. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on inside the life of Duke athletics. On today's show, we got to focus on the transfer portal getting started. One college basketball season officially coming to a close means another one must begin. And Duke now looking ahead towards this upcoming season, defending their ACC regular season and tournament crown, and hopefully building a roster that can contend for the 6th national championship in school history and the first under head coach Jon Scheyer. We'll have Josh Cox here on the program with us today. The Blue Devils saw one departure already as Darren Harris has said sayonara to Durham. He's going to be looking for a new home in the college basketball world. And then at the end of the program, let's let you know, now that college is over, what about this NBA season? What are the Duke angles and storylines interesting to watch down the stretch? So we'll get to that as time permits here on the show. All right, Josh Cox joining me on the program today. Great to see you once again from Section 17 Media. And on to a new season, pal. It was a Duke team that a year ago did not lose a single scholarship player to the NCAA transfer portal. Here we are, day one. We expected this, but officially official. We'll see someone enter the transfer portal for Duke.
Yeah, I mean, there's legitimately not much of an offseason, right, JJ? I mean, Final Four completes on Monday night, and Tuesday morning the transfer portal opens, and there's so much to report on. There's so much to follow, and then you truly get like an offseason maybe, in the month of June, maybe like a off season, and then they're back on campus, and you start seeing clips of, practice runs and all those types of things. So, but yeah, I mean, you had to expect that Duke was not going to have 2 straight seasons of 0 portal entries. You also wonder, like Darren Harris, number one, not a bad word could be said about Darren Harris. Like his demeanor, his attitude, the way that he stayed ready, and didn't complain. Definitely didn't complain publicly or let it be known at all. Complaining about lack of playing time or lack of opportunity, whatever it may be. And so this was not a surprise in any way, and also it shouldn't be any sort of there shouldn't be any sort of rub here, right? This isn't a guy that's like turning his back on the program or anything like that. So all best of luck to Darren Harris. I do believe that there's a role for Darren Harris on a good, like contending top 25 team.
Yeah.
I just feel like, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just the fact that Duke recruits so many wings that it just wasn't going to work for Harris, and they were already recruited over him again for next year. So, and then you also wonder with some of this stuff, and I don't believe this to be the case, but no one will ever know. Like, part of the transfer portal nowadays is also the school basically saying like, hey man, like there's not going to be a role for you here next year. You can stay because obviously legally you keep your scholarship, but like, time to move on. And I don't know. I just know in football that happens for sure. And so that's just the harsh reality of the way the sport is set up now.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's unfortunate that that's the case, but Darren Harris was a guy that, again, everybody could have seen this coming. He's going to leave Durham with 57 games played in a Duke uniform, 0 starts, and across those 57 games, I mean, you're looking at a guy that averaged just 8.4 points per game. This season, that number got up to 9.7, so nearly 10 points. Or 10 minutes a game, I should say, but just 3.3 points. I mean, he was clearly brought in to game scenarios to knock down shots. And there were moments where he was able to knock down some big shots for Duke, had some higher scoring output games. But then also the reality was there were some games where, he was just getting cardio in and there weren't that many looks coming his way, or he'd have an 0 for 4 day shooting the basketball and that sort of thing. And unfortunately, when you get to those moments in the game, if you're not delivering, it just decreases the chances that a coach is going to put you into the game. We're not telling people things they don't know already, but that's kind of the Darren Harris experience that we saw.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and I do think there's something very extremely difficult for a player that's right outside the normal rotation or like the lowest guy on the 9-man rotation, and knowing that you're in the game to defend and to knock down shots, and when you're not knocking down shots, it's kind of like, well, the truth is Dame Sarr and Nick Amenya and Isaiah Evans are all better defenders. Let's be objectively, and that's not a criticism of Darren Harris. They're all three better defenders. And so, like, if you're not hitting your shots, then, it is.
Can you do anything for us on the other end of the floor? And if that ain't, like you're saying, okay, we got a problem.
Yeah, and I mean, and I hate that because, these guys are legitimate ballers, obviously. They come in, highly ranked, they're highly rated players. They're good. And when you don't get the opportunity, it sucks because the pressure is so on you. When you do get that 3 or 4 minutes a half that you play, it's like, man, you feel like you've got to hit shots. You've got to. And like, you can't work through any kind of a slump. And it's unfortunate, man. And I really hope that Darren finds a spot that he can carve out 30 minutes a game, be a starting rotation guy and be allowed to struggle shooting and get a shot back and you know what I mean? And just kind of have a longer leash. And I know that's what he's looking for and I hope he finds it.
Yeah. Darren Harris played in the NCAA tournament for Duke this year in all 4 games that the Blue Devils played. However, he didn't score. 9 minutes in the game against Siena, 4 against TCU and St. John's, 1 minute against UConn. He went 0 of 4 combined shooting in those games, including the UConn game where he went 0 for 1 in the first half. Played just a minute, didn't have it, and immediately was checked back in one of those quick breathers that I think Cam Boozer had, bringing him in and that sort of thing. So now he goes to the market and sees what is out there for him. But again, this is a top 40 guy who had tons of offers coming out of high school. He's well connected at Paul VI there, where several Duke players have come from. And I'd imagine there are going to be a long line of schools calling for Darren Harris. As you said, top 25 teams. Absolutely. He can play at this power 4 level. And it's just going to be a shame to see him move on. But certainly for him, he's got to look back pretty fondly on getting to be a part of a couple of championship teams for the Blue Devils across these last 2 years.
Yeah, certainly. He was at Duke at a great time. He played on 2 of the best Duke teams to never win to not win an NCAA championship, right? Like, he played with Cooper, Flagg, and Kon Knueppel, who we'll talk about a little bit later on the show. Like, and obviously Cam Boozer, so yeah, and he came back for that second season, and I do think that you feel the love from the fans whenever you don't take off after your freshman year, and so he got to experience that a little bit as well. And then also, we cannot talk about Darren Harris without mentioning the shoe game. Always kept it like 10 out of 10 on the kicks.
He did.
He had one. It was a Booker, Travis Scott, Jordan like collab. Like it was a custom pair he wore, I think in the UNC game potentially. But anyway, just an all around good dude. Best wishes for him, and then for Duke, it opens up a roster spot for next season, and we'll see how Jon Scheyer and company fill it.
You know me, I can sometimes jump to some odd stats and numbers out there, Josh. Are you ready for one? The parting shot of Darren Harris? Darren Harris, the first player to ever wear jersey number 8 for Duke basketball.
I like
Wasn't able to be used in years prior, but he's the first guy to don that 8-ball jersey. And so he'll be in Duke trivia.
And you were hoping for a little bit more early NBA career Kobe out of that number 8. And it just didn't happen, So
yeah, we'll see if anybody else takes on that jersey for Duke.
Exactly.
And, can find that NBA early Kobe for sure. All right, well, we've got more transfer portal things that we want to dive into and look at, and we'll start to tease that. And chat about it a whole lot more in just a moment. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends at Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood Prediction Markets changes the game. It's people moving the action, so momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. No longer just a spectator. Play-by-play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Featured and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Robinhood is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Couldn't possibly think of a better time, guys, to check out our Everydayer Club. Get Locked On Blue Devils ad-free with the Everydayer Club. Plus, you get members-only Discord access. I'm in there chatting. We've been talking a little bit about Darren Harris and his departure, what could be next for Duke, and so much more. Join us at LockedOnBlueDevils.supercast.com or click the link down in the show notes below. The Everydayer Club with us here at Locked On Blue Devils. Josh Cox hanging out with me. He's from Section 17 Media. We're talking about the end of the season for Duke basketball and now a move towards the offseason. I did just want to add on this calendar, Josh, now that we're here, it hit me this morning. We're talking long about, I'm so grateful that it's not, opening weekend of March Madness or the Sweet 16 weekend when previously you would see guys actually be able to enter the transfer portal. And I understand that things have been in the works and agents do what agents do. And so names have been rumored. They've been planning to enter and now they actually can. But this morning it hit me, it'd be nice if it was delayed by maybe just a day or two so that college basketball, if we're helping them market, I don't know, maybe you let people celebrate the title game and the run and the year that it was and the great players and all these things before all of a sudden it's like, whoa, who's on what team next year? Who's Michael Malone coming to coach the Tar Heels? All those things. Just a thought I had once I started to immediately turn the timeline into goodness. No one's even talking about the end of the season that just happened.
Look, man, welcome to 2026, right, JJ? We can't pause and enjoy anything in the sports world. Like, there's got to always be the next thing that's happening. And like you said, I mean, we've been hearing, so-and-so plans to enter the transfer portal. Like, the graphics have already been hitting over the last week or so. Like, it just is what it is. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, especially for Michigan fans, right? It's like, hey, man, give us 24 hours. Give us
1989 was a long time ago when we won this thing.
Glenn Rice, man. Glenn Rice was a star 40 years ago or whatever it was, so anyway, I agree with you. Would be really nice. The calendar thing with college sports in general, with the football portal, with the basketball portal, I don't know that there's a right and wrong but I think there's definitely better that we can do with all those types of things, keeping in mind academic calendars, keeping in mind a lot of those things, because, we think of these sports and we think of the guys that are on the fast track to the league, but we have to understand that the majority of those guys are not on the fast track to the league. Majority of the guys will end up, using up all of their college eligibility. And so trying to keep a more holistic mindset of how does this truly affect the young man and the young lady that is making these moves?
And so with that, we kind of look at the offseason calendar that's in place here. So Duke's going to have conversations with everybody on the roster right now. We'll get official NBA draft declarations from players like Cam Boozer, who's going to hear his name called at the top of the draft this year. Other guys might decide that they want to get feedback and possibly leave open the return. And then Duke's also going to be having conversations with players in the transfer portal, because unlike a season ago, it feels very likely that Duke will bring somebody in from the outside to join the incoming freshmen and whatever players that they're able to return. So when you kind of look at the timeline here, Josh, and for anybody that's kind of listening to us as opposed to watching on YouTube, what jumps out to you here when you're looking at these offseason dates to know?
Yeah, the biggest thing that sticks out to me is the fact that April the 16th, so before the transfer window closes, is when you can get that feedback. And so I would assume, and I'm just going to throw a name out there. This is not a speculation pod, and I don't want to, but let's just say a guy like Dame Sarr, right? Let's just elephant in the room.
I think it can happen. Yeah, I'll speculate for you. I think that could happen.
Yeah. So Dame Sarr, more than likely, if he, whatever, he's probably going to go get some feedback, and he probably should. I mean, the dude's got a crazy wingspan. He's an elite defender. And he's got an unpolished offensive game that's got so much room for growth, right? There could be an NBA team who's like, Dame, if you enter, we're picking you in the late first round, period. No questions asked. Or he goes and gets that feedback and they're like, hey man, like we could pick you, but we're not going to pick you till early second round. You would do yourself a whole lot of favors by going back to Duke for another year, polishing your offensive game with their coaching staff. And then next season, you're a mid-first round or borderline lottery pick. And next year's draft is also weaker. We have to keep that in mind. Yep. Definitely a weaker draft than this year. And so, he could be drafted higher definitely next year. So I think that's the one that really stands out to me, is that these guys that are going to get that NBA feedback, they need to go ahead and declare to do that, going pro, getting feedback, whatever. And then if they are going to come back, then they're going to have to make that decision pretty quickly.
And then on these dates, I'm glad you brought that up, because April 16th is the deadline for that to happen. You'll have the G League Combine from May 8th to 10th in Chicago. The more important one, that NBA Draft Combine that plays out from the 10th until the 17th in Chicago. But it's not until May 27th, the early entry withdrawal deadline for players in the NCAA that want to return to school. So essentially, from April 16th until May 27th, if Duke has players in that boat, then you're in limbo trying to figure out who can we bring in to join the squad for this next season, or who is going to be, you know what, I'm not too pleased with what the NBA is telling me. Duke probably is the best option for me. I want to go back to college. And if that, does that ruffle any feathers? If Duke decides we're going to move on quickly, but then our current guys have second thoughts and want to come back, and now, it's a money game at this point. Unfortunately, money's been allocated elsewhere and all those things. So that's a long little while, man, from April 16th until May 27th.
Yeah, and I think that's where, and I actually misread the timeline on that, to be honest with you. But that is where I believe that you're going to see, if I'm a head coach, if I'm a GM in the college ranks, it's almost one of those deals where, like you say, listen, Dame, we believe in our heart that you're NBA ready. So if you're gonna do that, we are gonna tell you we're gonna go ahead and move on, right? Like,
yep.
So feel free, or just don't do it and stay, right? So whatever you want to do. Or the other side is like, hey, listen, we want you to go do that. We strongly believe you're going to get the feedback from people, because we've already talked to so-and-so GM at the Bulls. We've already talked to so-and-so GM at the Hornets, whatever. And we really do feel like they're going to send you back. They're really going to say, like, you should stay another year. So you go ahead and do it, but we're leaving your roster spot open, and here's your NIL compensation to try to get you to stay. And I think you can kind of almost not force a player's hand there, but you got to do everything you can do as a program to, like, keep your competitive edge and to put the best team out there in the fall. And so, like, you can't be at the mercy of these players all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I let Google help us out a little bit with the math here, as people can see on the screen. 41 days between April 16th and May 27th that things could be like, okay, are the players in control? Is Jon Scheyer and his coaching staff in control here, trying to figure things out in terms of building next year's roster? Also worth noting, towards the end of that timeline there, May 20th until the 31st is the men's basketball dead period on the recruiting calendar. And of course, at that point in the year, we're getting set for Peach Jam and all the big circuit events for Jon Scheyer, trying to build yet another top recruiting class in the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy, JJ. The fact that someone could be like, oh, I'm coming back, and it's during a dead recruiting period. Like, I don't know, man. It's crazy. I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot there. I think it just highlights the fact that the system is, I don't know if I'm going to use the word completely broken, but the system is so messed up, man.
Sure.
And like it is very difficult to create a program that is going to be built like Duke is building their program, which is still freshman 5-star heavy, potentially a lot of turnover every single year. It's almost impossible, man, to sustain like top 5, top 10 program the way it's currently structured. So a podcast for another day is like, talking about, is that the right way to build a national championship team, right? Because saw what happened in the Final Four, and I believe there was one freshman in the starting lineup, both teams combined for the championship game. So it's kind of like, is Duke even building the roster the right way? to win college basketball. So
yeah, and people want to have that conversation. Yeah, they do. And so we'll see how that comes and goes with the offseason that's here. But last thing to touch on before we take our last time out and talk about things at the next level. Don't forget, in terms of building a roster for next year, that includes the coaching staff. And a big hire that Duke made a season ago, bringing Evan Brads from the NBA back to college basketball. Now he's going back to be the head coach at his alma mater in Belmont. There's a new seat that's opened up on this bench. So Jon Scheyer's got some recruiting of coaches that he's got to get started on, man.
Yeah, and you said coaches plural, and I know you weren't really trying to say anything about that, but I believe there's a strong possibility it could be an additional one or two assistant coaches. Duke assistant coaches are in high demand around the country at different types of jobs. And so who knows? I will say, if you watched, the sidelines this season, Evan Brads was up beside Jon coaching and calling out sets on offense and defense the entire season. So he was an NBA voice, had done his time in the NBA, and he brought a really good perspective to Duke. And so that is a big void that Jon is going to have to fill. And like I said, I don't know, but there's a potential that Jon's going to have to not only replace Evan Brads, but maybe even replace another assistant. So we'll see.
Also with that, he's got an open spot, because the NCAA permits all these extra coaching spots. If he wanted to add just another assistant coach this past season, he could have and chose not to. So that avenue is still open for this Duke basketball team. All right, we're due for one more timeout. It is NBA season time, and Duke fans, we love following our guys at the next level. One more break, and we'll talk about that when we return. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. It is America's #1 sports book. I'm talking NBA, guys, and the NBA playoffs are here with every possession that matters, every matchup magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving customers a new great way to get in on the action. You can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. The app is easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters. It just keeps the entire playoff experience more engaging from start to finish. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. JJ Jackson and Josh Cox here with you on this Tuesday episode of Locked On Blue Devils. On to the NBA we go, and a lot of Duke guys making headlines right now and playing good basketball at the next level. Duke, of course, one of the top schools in number of volume of players that are there. And when we start to look at the NBA playoff picture, you'll see big-time players taking over the league. It has been a season where Jayson Tatum has been mentioned quite a bit, Josh, from joining as, the big addition to Duke's staff when Duke created that role for him this year as he was rehabbing from his Achilles injury. And now, what do you know? Number 0 for the Celtics back out on the floor. Tatum's back, and they're trying to get back with the title.
Yeah, I mean, he immediately makes the Celtics. I know Detroit's going to be the 1 seed in the East, but he immediately makes the Celtics the team to beat in the East, in my opinion. He's come back in and seamlessly worked himself back into that rotation. Him and Jaylen Brown, who, by the way, is having an all-NBA second team, first team type season. They're working well together. And then I do believe and feel like over the last 2 or 3 games, Tatum's there were certain things I felt like he was, when he first came back, rightfully so, he was kind of a little bit more passive. But, man, he's really, amped it up, and I feel like he's ready to go. So that's a major thing in the Eastern Conference for sure. And I think they are a top 4 team in the whole thing. I think the other 3 top teams are in the West. But I do believe, unless there's an upset, they would be my betting favorite coming out of the East.
Hand up. This is where I come clean for a second. As I was setting this up, Josh, it blanked what his position with Duke was. That was created by and so
was
you
it
guess?
Yeah, no, I have no idea. It wasn't GM because that's Rachel. So
right. It was the chief basketball officer is what his
the
title
CBO.
is. So, yeah, I must
CBO.
admit, folks, I blanked on the fly as to what his title was. We're coming clean here on the show.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's still chief basketball officer for Duke as a special advisor to head coach Jon Scheyer. And in addition to that, he's a superstar for the Boston Celtics trying to go and win a championship. Superstar in the making, possibly, for Cooper Flagg and this rookie season he's been having. He and Kon Knueppel, man, if people just wanted to focus on the betting line trends for the Rookie of the Year award this season, oh my goodness, it's been a back and forth race. And we're just a handful of games left in the year. I'm so intrigued to see how this one goes.
Well, to show you my age and to throw it back, it was the Grant Hill rookie season where they wound up doing the co-rookie of the year with Jason Kidd and Grant Hill. And it would not surprise me at all, because I will say, I think you can make an argument for both of these guys for rookie of the year. Obviously the Cooper Flagg argument, like 50-point game followed up by like a 45-point game or whatever it was, like here in the last few days, almost a triple double. And anyway, stupid numbers, but the downside of the Cooper Flagg thing is he's playing on a tanking team. And so he's playing where it's like the game plan is, hey, Cooper, if you want to go do it, go do it. There is no strategy involved in that. It's just basically go out and play. And Kon, conversely, is a part of a Hornets team that has just found its groove since probably January into December. They're one of the hottest. They are the probably hottest offensive team since January in the league. Their efficiency rating is just incredible on offense. They made the trade for Kobe White, and that's been a huge uptick for them. And then Kon has had to work himself into that offense. He's leading the league. He's going to lead the league in three-pointers made this season. He's broken the rookie record way back a couple weeks ago.
Broke the Hornets franchise record, all
of that. So, I think you can make a case for both of them. But it's really been neat to see Kon not get sped up by the NBA game. It's also been interesting for Cooper and Kon. Cooper, you knew this was going to be the case. But for Kon, Kon is a good defender. And people who did not understand that just weren't watching basketball last season when he was in college. But Kon defends well in the pros as well. And so that's been cool. And then the other thing for the Hornets, man, is Sion. So Sion doesn't get a ton of minutes, excuse me, but he is their best perimeter defender, as far as defending like a point guard.
Yep.
And so I think there will be, let's just say that they face the Knicks, which I think they'd have to get to the 6. Yeah, they have to get to the 6th seed to face the Knicks in the first round. But if they were to face the Knicks in the first round, I think you'd see quite a bit of Sion on Jalen Brunson. So that's also a cool thing. There in the Eastern Conference to kind of see what the Hornets have done.
Sion's the only Hornets player who has appeared in every single game this season. Kon Knueppel has missed just one with an injury, but Sion has gotten in. And for a lot of people, you'd have thought, he could possibly get some DNPs when he starts his rookie season. But no, he has played in every single game for the Charlotte Hornets this season, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I can't remember, JJ, if you had said we were going to talk about this guy, but a little under the radar, hottest team in the Eastern Conference right now.
Yeah, Atlanta
Hawks, Jalen Johnson.
Yeah,
the half season with the Brotherhood. I tell you what, they got Trae Young out of town, and that team wrapped its identity in Jalen Johnson. It's been really good to see Kuminga get going there, and I tell you what. You don't want to face the Atlanta Hawks in the playoffs.
Yeah. And
Cleveland may end up facing them in the 4 or 5, and Cleveland's probably like, "Oh crap, we should have tried a little harder."
Yeah, and Atlanta's got Quinn Snyder as the head coach. So there's your Duke connection there as well. Speaking head coaches, JJ Redick obviously has had a good year. I mean, back-to-back 50-win seasons to open up his coaching career here with the Lakers. Headlined by Luka Doncic and LeBron James. And here we are down the stretch, 3, 4, 5 games left for each of these teams in the league. And the Lakers could not be more banged up at this time of year. And so the coaching job that it will require of one Mr. JJ Redick is going to be really, really interesting when they open up the first round series here. You play so hard to avoid the play-in and do all these things and put yourselves in a good position to start the year. And age and health matters. And so looks like the injury bug caught up to LA.
Yeah, I mean, and they could potentially – I know there's some movement that could happen, but I think Minnesota could be a first-round matchup for them.
Yep.
I'll just say JJ could be the best coach in NBA basketball, and the Lakers minus AR-15 and minus Luka Doncic are not beating the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first round series. Like that I just don't see a world in which that happens. I mean, but it is very unfortunate. Now you do wonder, like, the timelines that they're throwing out there for these two guys and their injuries. Like, you wonder. Anyway, there may be a little bit of gamesmanship going on there, and those guys may come back, before you would expect them to come back. I don't know. I'm not here I'm no medical doctor for sure on those things, but it is definitely unfortunate, JJ, because I feel like that JJ Redick had his guys bought in. He had LeBron bought into defense, which LeBron's always been a good defender, but he really had the effort on defense with LeBron. He had put together that, like, Marcus Smart, you know what I mean, like helping, because you have to, you have to get Luka, and Luka bought in as well, by the way, defended with more effort than he has his entire career. But look, Luka and Reeves are going to struggle defensively. So you have to surround them with guys like LeBron and like the guard that I just mentioned.
Marcus Smart.
Marcus Smart. And then he also got, like, what I think is like max output from Ayton, which is kind of like people kind of written Ayton off.
They wrote him off for sure.
And then it's well, there he is starting center on the number 3 team in the West. So, and
Rui Hachimura has been playing the best basketball of his career for the Lakers. There have been stretches where he's over 40% from 3. Luke Kennard, Duke Blue Devil, big trade deadline acquisition for him. Top of the league in 3-point percentage. He hardly misses. It's insane to watch Luke. Just one job, man, come in and knock down threes at the next level. And boy, he's doing a good job. So plenty of more guys that we could talk about. We'll be sure to do that, Josh, as the playoffs get ready to ramp up and so much more. But go. What last thing?
Last one. How can we forget the big trade, the Philly trade to OKC? Jared McCain is definitely providing a spark off the bench for OKC, and you could say between OKC, San Antonio, and Denver, potentially the top 3 teams in the playoffs. And so, keep your eye on a Jared McCain playoff game where he just kind of drops 20 or 25 points and hits 6 threes or whatever.
Yeah, he's number 3 for the Thunder, and he's the guy that the internet tells you paints his nails because no one's gotten used to that.
That's all they talk about
now. So that's he's a really good basketball player, and the Thunder are finding that out right now. Josh, man, you're the best. Tell me about Section 17 Media.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we just wound down basketball season, but that was our first year doing basketball. Football is our main thing. We also are covering Duke baseball. Our guy Scott Medlin, who I know comes on some here on Locked On, follows baseball like ridiculously close, more, and I follow it a little bit. He follows it a lot, but anyway, looking forward to seeing how this kind of gritty Duke baseball team continues to play. But we'll be doing sporadic, podcasts throughout the off season, and then we get geared up for football, and we'll try to bring you as good a content as we possibly can.
Good deal. Good to see you, Josh. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Thanks, JJ. Have a good day, man.
All right, Josh Cox joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils, and that's going to bring our show today to a close. Guys, thank you so much for your support always. If you would, please be sure to share this podcast with a friend. Subscribe to us for free wherever it is that you get your podcasts, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you, and good day.